we shall discuss what is WTO, what are its functions, what are the agreements under WTO which have been signed by the members, and what is the impact of WTO on developing economies. With some history, WTO was established in 1995. Before that, what was the position? Let us look at this first. During the Second World War, the trade was disrupted. Different types of restrictions were imposed on trade. Tariffs were very high. There were other non-tariff barriers also. After the end of the war, there was a need to correct all those distortions which have crept into the international transactions to make world trade smoother. For this purpose, a conference was held in Bretton Woods, where about 44 countries participated. In this conference, 2 or 3 developments took place. 2 institutions were established. One was IMF, the other was World Bank. Another thing that happened, which dealt with trade, was General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. Now, the basic purpose of General Agreement on Trade and Tariff was to reduce tariffs and to reduce all those restrictions which were impeding the world trade. One thing that we should keep in mind while discussing General Agreement on Trade and Tariff is that it was not maximization of trade which was the objective. It was maximization of trade under the conditions that there was liberty to economies to pursue their domestic policies to achieve domestic objectives. GATT was able to eliminate import restrictions placed since 1930s, and tariffs were reduced from the heights which were there during the World War. All signatories to the GATT benefited from the agreement. Countries were also allowed to pursue policies to meet domestic objectives. Agriculture was kept out of these agreements. Services also escaped. Developing countries were also free to do as they pleased with their trade policies. They were not required to reduce tariffs even though they benefited from the most favored nation class. There were various clauses in the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff that allowed them to do this. Advanced economies also found many loopholes to protect their different sectors. They were allowed to use anti-dumping duties and other non-tariff barriers to protect different sectors in their economies. As far as the enforcement power of the GATT is concerned, it was a joke. Developing countries wanted industrialization and economic growth. In the face of absence of external discipline, they were allowed to pursue policies to promote industrialization. And some of the developing countries were able to industrialize substantially. General Agreement on Trade and Tariff proved to be a success. During the period 1948-1990, trade increased by 7% per annum. Output also increased at a rate which was never experienced earlier. So, it was felt that these successes were due to liberalization in the world trade, and there was need to promote further liberalization. As a result, after 8 years of negotiations, in 1995, WTO came into existence. WTO is compulsory and rule-based organization, and coverage is wide, whereas General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs was only an agreement. WTO covers all the goods and services which are visible as well as invisible. It also covers labor, intellectual property rights, and capital. WTO is against non-tariff barriers. Tariffs are there under WTO, but there are bounds on tariffs also. Unlike General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, WTO has members of the WTO have no choice. Once they have signed WTO, they have to accept every rule and regulation. In the case of WTO, if any country gives any concession to any other member, these concessions will automatically be available to all other members of the WTO. Under WTO agreement, disputes are also settled in a proper way. Whereas under General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, it was a very lengthy process and there was no conclusion. Under WTO, there is a dispute settlement body and disputes are settled. Another thing is that WTO from time to time reviews the trade policy, taking into consideration different developments which are occurring in the world. These are some of the things which are related to WTO. Now we shall look at various agreements which have been signed under WTO. Different agreements have been signed, which we shall explain briefly. Agreement on agriculture. Under this agreement, all kinds of non-tariff barriers like import quotas and subsidies to agriculture are to be removed. Advanced countries, particularly United States and European Union, give two kinds of subsidies to the agriculture. One, the farmers are given subsidies. The result is that the agricultural prices remain low in these countries. As a result, foreign producers cannot compete in these markets. Secondly, subsidies are also given to promotion of exports. Under the Agreement on Agriculture, it was decided to remove these subsidies and bring down tariffs so that other countries are able to compete in the agricultural market in advanced countries. Initially, America and European Union were reluctant to reduce the subsidies. Later on, these countries have agreed to phase out subsidies. By 2010, 80% of the subsidies were phased out, and the rest of the subsidies were expected to be phased out by 2030. Yet, what we find is that there are certain kinds of subsidies which are still prevalent in advanced economies, which are not directly related to agriculture. These subsidies relate to environment, these subsidies relate to pest controls and so on like that. The only thing that we can see that developing countries have been given some kind of level playing field as far as agricultural market is concerned. But the problem is that in most of the developing countries, the production of agricultural goods is not very high. Consequently, not much benefit has been reaped by these countries because of this agreement. The second agreement relates to non-agriculture market access. Advanced countries and developing countries were required to reduce tariffs and other barriers on non-agricultural goods. Advanced countries suggested the Swiss formula, which meant that highest duty should be cut on those items on which highest tariff was there. This formula actually benefited the advanced countries, whereas the emerging countries, emerging economies or developing economies did not agree to this formula, because in most of the cases they were having high duties on goods which are being produced by those industries which were recently established in these countries. As a result, what we find, there was no consensus on this till 2006. Later on, some kind of compromise was arrived at. The third agreement related to trade in services. In services, countries were required to specify areas they are willing to open and sectors where foreign countries will be allowed. Sectors like banking, insurance, telecoms. Countries were to provide list of services from time to time, which will be opened for other members. There were 4 modes. Mode 1, which consisted of BPOs. Mode 2, consumption abroad like education, tourism. Mode 3, foreign direct investment, foreign institutional investment. Mode 4, movement of natural persons. India has offered largest number of services. India's interest essentially lies in Mode 1 and Mode 4, whereas advanced countries have been insisting on large number of restrictions. In these countries, restrictions have been imposed through licensing, registration, duration of stay, and so on like that. Another agreement that was signed was trade related to investment and monitoring system. India has opened Mode 3. It has allowed foreign direct investment, foreign institutional investment. Under the agreement, foreign capital is allowed in various sectors like infrastructure to fill the gap between supply and demand of domestic investment. Foreign capital is also allowed through automatic route. Some sensitive sectors have been kept out. Another agreement, that is the multi-fiber agreement, has been phased out. Earlier, advanced economies and particularly European unions have fixed quotas for import of textiles and garments. These quotas were meant for developing economies. They were not allowed to export more than this quota. After a long period of negotiation, the earlier method, which was known as multi-fiber agreement, this multi-fiber agreement has been dismantled now. Another agreement relates to trade-related intellectual property rights. It pertains to patents and copyrights, whereas earlier process patents were granted to food, medicine, drugs, and chemical products. The TRIPS agreement now provides for granting product patents also in all these areas. Protection will also be available for 20 years for patents and 50 years for copyrights. Developing countries will have to bring their laws in accordance with the laws prevailing in advanced economies. These are some of the agreements which have been signed under WTO. Now we shall look at the impact of WTO on developing economies. The basic purpose of WTO is maximization of trade. To achieve this objective, the countries were expected to change their policies in accordance with this. Now we would like to look at what are the benefits which are likely to accrue to the developing economies and what are the problems which they are facing and are likely to face due to liberalization envisaged under WTO. One thing is that with liberalization and globalization, the countries will be able to specialize in those areas in which they have comparative advantage. The result will be production will increase and the prices of the products which they are producing will also increase because of the access to the international market. The expansion of market will promote growth in all countries, including developing economies. Economic theory tells us this. Secondly, because of reduction in tariffs and other non-tariff barriers, the developing countries will become more competitive in the international market. And this will also promote their exports. Theoretically, globalization or integration of international markets will benefit the developing economies. But one thing that we should keep in mind, that liberalization does not lead to increase in growth of trade. Trade also depends upon quality of the product, proper infrastructure for exports, assured supply, level of technology. As far as these factors are concerned, in many developing countries, what we find, these are absent. So, in spite of reduction in tariffs and removal of non-tariff barriers, many developing countries are unlikely to benefit from globalization. The reason being that complementary factors which are essential for expansion of trade are absent in these countries. Another advantage that has become available to all the countries, including the developing economies, relate to settlement of disputes. Now, any action which distorts free trade, and if any country feels that the action is harming it, it can complain against this action of the other country to the WTO. And the dispute is settled by a panel formed by WTO. Whereas under General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, this process was very long and the results were not conclusive. Under WTO, the results are there within a specified period. But there is one thing which we should keep in mind, that the advantage of this characteristic of WTO is not very effective as far as the small developing economies are concerned. Even if they complain against large countries, even though their complaint is upheld, they do not have sufficient resources and economic power to retaliate, which is allowed under the WTO. This is another limitation of WTO. Another thing that we would like to look at as far as developing economies are concerned. In the case of agriculture, what we find is that in United States and European Union, their subsidies to agriculture are still available. 40 to 45% of subsidies are there. They are exempted. These subsidies are general in nature. They are exempted from agreement on agriculture. So, as a result, many developing economies are not able to benefit from this agreement. Another thing that we would like to look at is that what is happening to inequalities of income and what is happening to poverty. In some countries, due to liberalization and globalization, inequalities of incomes have increased. According to the trade theory, actually inequalities of incomes should have gone down. What we find is that in Mexico, blue-collar workers lost 15% of real wages, while white-collar workers gained in the same proportion. Similarly, in 1990s till 1998, in Argentina, college premiums almost doubled for men and trebled for females. That means that those who were having degrees from colleges and universities, their income virtually doubled, whereas those who were not having any degrees, their income didn't change. As a result, what we find that inequalities have increased. Another thing that has been witnessed in many countries is that non-technical labor is the loser. Because of investment by multinational corporations in developing countries, demand for technical labor has increased, whereas demand for non-technical labor has gone down. This has happened that all those goods which were earlier being produced using labor-intensive methods are now being produced using the technology which was prevalent in developed countries. As a result, what we find that salaries of the technically trained individuals have gone up, whereas the non-technical workers or the workers without any skill, the wages have gone down, and these workers are finding it difficult to find out new jobs. In some countries like Bangladesh and Mauritius, workers in the garment industry have benefited from liberalization. But in other countries, unskilled workers have not benefited. The reason may be that these countries have started importing goods which these workers were producing from those countries which are also using labor-intensive technology but producing at lower rates. For instance, Mexico is importing many goods from China. So the result is that workers have lost employment and wages. In poor country, if a poor country has larger supply of other factors of production, liberalization may not benefit the labor-intensive sector. This is the experience of some of the developing economies. We may give 2 or 3 reasons for the poor condition of workers after liberalization. One thing is mobility of workers. With the opening of economy, some of the sectors will vanish and some new sectors will develop. As a result, there is a need for retooling and relocating workers in accordance with the market conditions. This mobility depends on availability of credit, information, social network, and infrastructure facilities. In many less developed countries, these facilities are not available. As a result, due to opening of trade, many workers have found that their wages have gone down or they have lost employment. Secondly, the other reason for the poor condition of worker is the technical change. Much of the technology which have been brought to underdeveloped economies by multinational corporations have been developed in countries where labor is scarce. The result is that investment by multinational corporations has not resulted in increasing demand for unskilled labor. Therefore, the wages and employment opportunities for unskilled labor have not improved. So, what we find is that at present, the condition of workers is not very good due to opening of trade. But we cannot blame everything to globalization or WTO. There are other factors which are also responsible for this. The countries have not been able to change their policies in accordance with the opening of trade. The countries have not been able to develop the infrastructure which is required to take the benefits from opening of trade. So in the short run, our conclusion is that WTO has resulted in some benefits and some disadvantages for developing economies. We find some of the countries which have benefited from opening of trade, whereas there are other countries which have suffered because of opening of trade. In the case, as far as success is concerned, China and some other countries are examples, whereas there are other countries which have not been able to change conditions in their countries which are compatible with opening of trade. They are suffering. We hope that in future steps will be taken in these economies so that they are also able to gain some benefits from opening of trade.